Mark. Hello, this is KT0 here, bringing you an i3 commentary after a very long time. The reason as of why I have not been putting out videos for a very long time, I will state at the end of this video, so be patient, folks. And for today, we have a game on Infinite Isle, which is a very familiar map that induces a lot of aggression since it is that small, and it is going to be a Soviet versus Empire game, which I hope to be electrifying. Now for the introduction of the players. Howling from the right side of the map is our green Empire player, goes by the name of WindowsXP, which I think is the best name ever. And on the left side of the map, excuse me, on the left side, this is annoying, excuse me guys, on the left side of the map it is going to be our Scion Soviet player, goes by the name of Messican, indeed his name is Messican, which is also a very fantastic name, I might add. And it looks like that he's going to be opening up with one barracks into one refinery opening, and our Empire player is opening up with 2 dojos into 2 refineries. It's a very balanced build with a fair amount of aggression and a fair amount of economy as well. And so it seems that 1 refinery and 1 barrack will be scouted by the Serojong there, and after the scouting zone has passed, the Soviet player does decide to build a war factory here. So it seems that there will be some form of mech aggression being put up by the Soviet player there, and indeed I anticipate some of the the Sickles and the Terrorjongs coming out of the war factory and moving into the Empire player's main base very soon, and be annoying to his Imperial opponents. And indeed, recognizing that the Empire player will be following up with a quick mega bay instead of producing up a large amount of infantry, but indeed he is going to be putting up the second dojo core into at the center of the map here, taking a fair amount of map control. And it looks like a bullfrog, what? And the Soviet players are loading the bullfrog with engineer and sickles, not sickles, the engineer and pterodont. What is this? What is this coming up from the Soviet player? This is some sort of a harassment build, that's for sure, because he's using engineer and excuse me, he's using engineer and pterodons. But I've never seen this before, to be honest. And indeed, the bullfrog will be intercepted by those Imperial warriors there, and although their guns are not quite enough to bring the bullfrog down, and now the bullfrog is going to move into position, employing the secondary ability of ejecting passengers as well. And now the engineer and Terrorjon are loose inside of the Empire player's main base. This is brilliant play by the Soviet player there. And the engineer trying to occupy the mega bay there, forcing a cell, and the Terrorjon is basically preventing anything from being moved, and now forcing a refinery to be sold as well. While there's a lot of damage being done here by the Soviet player to the Empire player, and the Empire player is wisely walling up his refinery here, and while the Soviet player's Terrorjon was drawn away, the Empire player is going to move his new refinery core into position there, preventing it from being destroyed by this Terrorjon here. And indeed, the left alone or connector will be cleaning up the house for the Empire player for now. But he has taken very heavy loss. Excuse me. He has taken very heavy losses from this harassment build from the Soviet player there. And although it did clean up, now the Soviet player is just light years ahead in terms of tech. He does have a super reactor providing him the tier 2 units, and he is erecting up an airfield as well, so there will be some air to service follow-ups by the Soviet player there, and the Empire player recognizing that is going to respond with selling his dojo. Of course, he doesn't have enough money. He has been running on 1 refinery for quite a long time, and he does only really have 1 instant generator here, which is not quite enough to power the production of anything, to be honest. And he desperately needs some form of units and anti-air to deal with this build from the Soviet player here. Although I don't know how he read that I see, he has the watchtower, so he saw the airfield going up, so he's recognizing that the Soviet player will be putting up pressure via the air, so he's just scrambling the entire air force in terms of in the form of Tengus, and try to counter that as well. But that would be very behind, I would say, since one of the twin blades has already been produced by the Soviet player there, and he's going to be lifting up a bullfrog. This curious maneuver from the Soviet player there. I don't know what he's going to do with this bullfrog on a twin blade. And is there anything in the bullfrog? Can you leave up something? Can you leave up a bullfrog full of units? But there's no points. Well, I suppose the Empire player does have the center map control here, so the troop movements will be spotted. Actually, anything that gets past the center area of the map will be spotted. If you don't want to be spotted by the watchtower here, you basically have to go all around in the water, and to your opponent's, the backside of your opponent's main base will be too slow at the point. So he is just using the twin blade to mobilize his bullfrogs here, but it doesn't seem like that he's going to abuse the ledge here. Instead, he's going to move straight into his opponent's main base, recognizing that his opponents will be unpowered for a very long period of time. Oh, I see. So he's carrying those bullfrogs for anti-air support. So he's, well, this brilliant play from the Soviet player here. He's moving in those bullfrogs for anti-air support, so that the Tengus of the Empire player, before they can get to a fairly large number, they won't be able to do anything to this twin blade here. So the twin blade can just do damage left and right, and forcing cells left and right, and thus empowering the defensive structure, leaving the mineral vulnerable to the twin blade as well. So this is a very smart play from the Soviet player here. And now now basically this twin blade is just uncontested in the Empire player's main base. He is destroying structures left and right, and the defender VX is not in range to deal with this attack from the twin blade here. And very soon this power generator will be destroyed here, so the Empire player would have to respond very rapidly. So he's lifting up the 3 Tengus, but he has to be careful though. He doesn't want to lose those Tengus, precious Tengus, to the 2 bullfrogs there, but he wisely left one of his Tengus on the ground here to deal with the two bullfrogs, while maneuvering the 3 Tengus in the air to deal with the twin blades here. And indeed the twin blade has retrieved into the water to avoid the aggression by the 3 Tengus here, but the Empire player is not going to allow that to happen. Yes, I saw the shadow here, so he has moved in his 3 Tengus to take out this twin blade here from the Soviet player, and he doesn't lose a single Tengu here. This is a brilliant play from the Empire player as well, engaging very cost efficiently, which is exactly what he needs to do at this stage of the game, since it's so far behind. Now the Soviet player does expand behind the pressure. He has a 3rd refinery into the water as well, and he is ahead in tech, since he does have the airfield, and he does have the tier 2 units coming out from the mega bit as well. I just don't know. Now with 2 MiG fighters, the Soviet player is basically taking the air dominance here. If the Soviet player has the air and the Tengus cannot lift up, then basically anything comes out that is on the ground will be destroyed by those twin blades here. And indeed, well, just 2 tanks and 3 bears trying to move into the Empire player's main base and try to do damage here, but the 3 bears were quickly taken out by the 4 Tengus there. But the 4 Tengus don't have anything to do with the 2 tanks, so they are going to fall back now, and the 2 tanks are looking to do some serious damage to the main base of the Empire player there, bringing that 1 war to the yellow, although I don't think there's anything else that he can do. And indeed, 1 tsunami tank is not going to be enough to deal with the 2 hammer tanks from the Soviet player there, even with the self-repair and the mega base support as well. But 3 tank busters will be quite enough to repel that. The problem is the Soviet player does have the air dominance, their superiority here. So the twin blades, yes, now speaking of the twin blades, here they come. They can move in, just wreak havoc to the ground force of the Empire player there. And the Empire player, if he tries to engage with those Tengus, he will lose his entire air force to just 2 MiG fighters here, not even manage to bring down the MiG fighters to yellow. So now 1 surviving twin blades would be able to destroy the entire ground force of the Empire player here, and at least do a large amount of damage before the Empire player can muster up a Tengu force to deal with this. And I think the wise thing to do now is just move his force into the range of the missile turrets, so the air force of the Soviet player won't have anything to do with that. And indeed, during the time, I don't know where he get the money from. My God, the Empire player has managed to take out to tier 2 here, so he has stabilized for now. Since he does have those VX to deal with the air pressure coming from the Soviet player, and the Soviet player, he is having a minimum amount of force. Was slipping on his macro here? I think so. He only has two MiG fighters, which he already had at the time of engagement here, and he only has 2 twin blades and now a third, and 2 brute frogs as well. Not nearly as large as I would imagine it to be, so he cannot put up any form of aggression anytime soon. So the Empire player would have a bit of time to build up an army to deal with this force from the Soviet player here, and recognizing that the Soviet player will be spending his money on an expansion into the center of the map here, just pushing his lead further and further ahead, and the Empire player would have to respond very quickly, either with an attack or with an expansion of himself. And indeed, he has chosen to do both. It seems he is moving out with his force here. He has 2 VXSs, 2 tanks, and a reasonable number of infantry, I would say, and that is about it. And at the same time, he is moving his MCV into the center of the map here, looking to expand at the refinery there, and not the refinery, the ore mine there with a refinery. And the Soviet player is lifting up his brute frogs. I don't know what's up with his brute frogs, but he is using it quite smartly, and I would say effectively. So I would say it's almost his signature move. What is his name again? His name is Messican, yes. So he aims to make his opponent's life very messy. Indeed, it's a very good name. And we are going to see the MCV movement from the Soviet player here, just acting as a tank, seeing that his opponent is pushing out with a force. And I don't think that force was actually large enough to engage this force from the Soviet player here, but I suppose since he doesn't really have any tanks, he only has two terror drones, and I do mean a large number of bears. But once those bears deal with the infantry, I suppose the terror drone can just move in and destroy the 2 tanks and 2 VXs here. Note that the VXs cannot lift up, since once they are lifted up, they cannot deal with the MiG fighters in the air. And if the Soviet player is smart, which he is, he will save the MiG fighters from the engagement until his opponent lifts his VXs up. So recognizing that the Empire player is going to fall back and expand into the center as well, since he seemingly now just have enough money for a refinery core. Note that the money span for the Empire player is very, very short here, since he does construct those cores, which construct fairly quickly, I would say, and the majority of the time is spent on expansion of those cores. So yeah, that's the economy module of Empire faction here, and we are going to see one spare ore collector here saved from the initial attack, really, from the Soviet player is going to join the fray into the main army of the Empire player here, looking to just add a bit of firepower. And indeed, the engagement here, I don't know what got destroyed here. Some wreckage in the sea here, and 3 Tengus do manage to survive. 1 is in the red, and looking on the minimap, there's some troop movement here. We see some cyan dogs or light blue dogs on the map here. 1 twin blade moving in for some free damage here on the walls. I don't really agree with the attack choice, but I suppose he's just trying to draw his opponent's attention away. Oh, I see. He's trying to draw his opponent's attention onto this twin blade here, so that he would misjudge and lift those Tengus up. And once the secondary ability is on cooldown, they cannot transform into their ground forms, and they will be taken out by the 2 MiG fighters very, very quickly. Indeed, and we are seeing that the tank counts for the Empire player is fairly healthy here, with a number of 5 tsunami tanks as well. But we see the tank counts for the Soviet players getting ridiculously healthy here at a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So he is now an 8. He is 3 tanks up to his opponents, and he does have the support of a large number of bears and two terror drones as well. This is a very potent force. I suppose the the Soviet player just being cautious here. Since he now has the lead of one refinery, he can just save the lead and try to push himself more and more ahead and try to give up a absolutely large army to crush his opponent's army, really. But I think if he pushes now, he will win the war here, which I think he is going to do. He is pushing out with a large tank force and with the support of the MCV as well. The MCV, so basically a function of the MCV, it just acts as a tank to tank most of the damage there, or his opponents, if his opponent does react correctly, he can just deploy those deploy the MCV and try to erect up some defensive structure here to mess up his opponent's life pretty badly, which fits his name, Messican. And it looks like the power of Windows is not going to help the Green Empire player very much here, since most of the infantry did get stunned by those bears and is now going to be pumped to death by those bears. Wow, and the tank force gap got absolutely destroyed by the large, and I do mean a large number of tanks from the Soviet player here, and now that the force of the Empire player is completely crushed, the defensive line is gone. Now the MCV and the third refinery is exposed. Well, are exposed. I don't know what the Empire player can do at this point, really. He has to deal with this force at the front store, and he does have to deal with the economical advantage of his opponent as well, which I don't think he has enough to deal with. I suppose if he micros his risks correctly, he can take out his MCV perhaps. Oh no, the two MiG fighters do move in, so it's going to be dealt with nice and easy by the Soviet player here, and the Soviet player even freezing the MCV of the Empire player here, just nullifying his last attempt at a shot of this game here. So the forces and the base of the Empire player was completely crushed there. He is now going to sell all his structures and GG out of this game. Wow, this was entertaining game, I would say, since the Soviet player did employ a very, very creative strategy there, using twin blades and bullfrogs and the eject passengers, really, the secondary ability of twin blades to move his forces quickly into his opponent's main base and forcing itself many structures before the infantry and any defensive force can react. So brilliant play by the Soviet player there. A very good game, living up to its name of replay of the week. Also, the names of the players are just awesome. WindowsXP against Messican. Indeed. And now for the announcement. The reason why I haven't been putting up any videos for a long time is because of the internet in my new house. Yes, I did shift my house to a new place, and everyone in my house, well, everyone else in my house, seems to be downloading stuff every now and again. In fact, all the time, by my own observation, that is. I have no scientific evidence for that, but I suspect they do download all the time and never switch off their computers, which I hate. And they basically just bring down the net traffic to 0 for me, so I can't even connect to the wireless broadband there. So I can hardly check my own emails, and not talking about uploading videos. Excuse me, bit short of breath there. Uploading videos as well. So I can't do anything about it. I did try to stockpile a large number of videos and pick one good day that the network traffic is good and try to upload them all, but the time where the network traffic is good just doesn't seem to be long enough for me to upload even one video. Excuse me, I've been doing the wrong posture for a very long time, so my breath is a bit short here. That was me, KT0, bringing you another i3 commentary, and I hope to see you next time. And God bless me, I hope this replay goes up. I shall see you next time.